Welcome back to the Balance Sheet, where we talk about all things in the world of women's wrestling. My name is King Ajar. I'm one of your co-hosts,
What's up, everybody? I'm Billy.
and we have so much news to cover this week. We cannot waste any time. Let me start out by saying, though, please subscribe to us on any of the streaming platforms you listen to our podcast on. That is Apple Podcasts, that is Spotify, that is RSS, that is Samsung, that is YouTube. The more subscriptions you give us, the more revenue we can generate to make the show better through our advertising forum and those little ads you get when you listen to our show. Thank you, RSS and Spotify and Apple podcasts, for thinking we're worthy enough to get those ad placements. So we really appreciate it. But we're going to get right to the top here. We have a very big development in
Yep.
AEW. Finally, Tony Khan, with I guess his Vanna White and Renee Paquette, announced that they will now have AEW Women's World Tag Team titles,
Woo
and the
woo.
belts were unveiled on AEW Dynamite this past week. So for once, when Tony Khan said, "I have an important announcement to make," he actually had an important announcement to make. This is something that a lot of us in the women's wrestling fandom have been clamoring for, because the one thing we can criticize Tony a lot about a lot of things, but the one thing we cannot criticize him on is he books tag team wrestling much better than the WWE does. He treats them like belts that deserve a spot on every pay-per-view, and he also has main evented shows with tag belts. So, sir, this is something you've wanted for a long time. Why don't you take us
Yep.
through your thoughts?
Yeah, really exciting. There's a lot to talk about on this show, and in the couple minutes before Raj and I got on air, it's like, well, what do we start with? And I think it's important to start with this because this is at the core of what this show's about, what we advocate for. This is more representation for women in wrestling. Um, we've seen a pretty exponential growth in pay-per-view time for women in AEW over the last 2 years. Not getting as many matches as we would all prefer yet, but at least the matches we're getting are trending much longer than they were 3, 4 years ago. Um, and this should be another flag planted on consistent pay-per-view exposure for now for women. Um, at least every time that they make a pay-per-view. Now, I don't want to put the cart before the horse and say Tony's going to put these belts on every pay-per-view. A critic might say they have a lot of belts and a lot of mouths to feed, but I actually am of the thinking that with what they've been developing in the women's division, these belts are going to be very much at the forefront. We're going to get a tournament. I would guess an 8 team tournament. And what's really exciting is I think through the history of these belts, we'll see that Tony's going to be able to bring in hoopers to have fun and fresh matchups semi pretty often with these. The Forbidden Door concept as a pay per view can sometimes be a little bit tough because they kind of have to stop everything when that comes around. But Um, they've got a lot of great partnerships, a lot of healthy partnerships, and I'd love to see a lot of fresh matchups with these. And when you look at the list of who could be in the tournament, we're going to get some really good stuff. You know, but again, the most important thing is that when they have tag matches, they're going to be booked to be we know that they will be booked to have good matches, right? Like there's not going to be 5 minute, tag matches. He treats the tag division when they have matches is very important. And again, I think the women are going to get a chance to hoop. Um, you know, my mind's actually racing with all the different combos that could go out there. I don't know who the first champ's going to be. We'll have to see the tournament bracket, but I'm just really, really excited. I think um, we've gotten to the point now where we should consistently get three women's matches um, on every pay-per-view. And if they're given, a range of, again, the women's title match was a little short this last pay-per-view. It was 12 minutes. Mercedes was 16. Add another 15, 10 to 15-minute match in. Um, and at that point, you'll have eight women on those cards. This is an exciting moment.
Before I give you my prediction on who I think should be the first women's tag team champions in AEW, I want to praise Tony Khan here, and
Yep.
here's why. I think tag team wrestling is one of the best parts of wrestling. When I got into profession, when I got into the fandom of professional wrestling, in the '80s, late '80s, some of my most favorite acts were tag teams. Right? It
Yep.
was never I was just about singles, and I don't know what this tag team stuff is. And then, in the mid '90s, Eric Bischoff, when he controlled WCW, and Vince McMahon, when Pat Patterson kind of started to phase out of being the brain and the booker, they both don't like tag team wrestling as bookers. And because of that, tag team wrestling became homogenized and downgraded to almost serving as these belts, and this concept will feud a bigger singles feud, right? Like, if
Yep.
you remember, when Vince got into, let's have Stone Cold team with The Rock, or Michaels team with, like, Michaels and Cena were tag champs, right? Like, these are singles stars, but he did it because it was like the easy way to promote a feud. And I hate that. And so, where I love what Tony Khan has done since AEW became a thing is Tony Khan comes from the NWA Jim Crockett, fandom. Like I do. Like I like both, and like me and Tony probably have a lot in common in the sense of we both have that encyclopedia kind of wrestling knowledge. And he remembers, like I do, when in NWA tag team titles would main event their pay-per-views. The One of the biggest pay-per-view buys the history of the NWA. In fact, I think it might be the biggest. The main event was the Road Warriors against the Midnight Express in the scaffold match. And it's the scaffold match where, and maybe Karma worked, pre people becoming YouTube mouthpieces, but Jim Cornette got pushed off the scaffold by the Road Warriors, and he tore both his Achilles because he landed awkwardly and he tore both of them. But where I'm going with this is why I'm happy that Tony Khan is doing this is because I do think these tag belts will always get a pay-per-view spot. And I think the tag belts will main event a lot of TV. And I
Yep.
think that they'll always have, like, they will never be dormant. They might not have over the top money drawing tag teams, but I do think they'll always be on the show. And I think that's important because it does, like you said, give four more women the opportunity to, show their stuff in front of a bigger audience, in front of the pay-per-views, in front of the TVs. And, with them, possibly, the rumors are out there that their pay-per-views are going to be streaming on Max soon for free. I think that's just all good. And I also like what you're talking about, which is you bring in Stardom women, CMLL women, independent women to challenge for the tag belts. I think that's really, really good. To me, I think, and I don't know how they get back to this because I think the story's been broken apart now, but I always thought the first AEW women's tag champs should be Mercedes and Harley. I always thought that of all the tag teams I've ever seen in AEW, the one that has the most money making, yes, and that is a double entendre, money make potential is a fresh, super over baby face like Harley Cameron with the puppet, with all the things she can do, and a Mercedes kind of almost carrying her to the title and then slowly growing, when they have their breakup because Mercedes is still a singles champion, it could revisit it. But I like them as the first tag team because they have a merchandise opportunity with the puppet having a belt and stuff like that. But I don't think they can do that anymore. But that would have been my way I would have booked it. But I am
Yeah,
happy about it, and I truly think that Tony will do right by these belts. Um, Look, the WWE is very blessed that they have had some of the best women's wrestlers of all time on their roster to carry these dormant tag belts that they have done absolutely nothing with. They have had Sasha Bailey, they've had Charlotte Asuka Alexa Bliss, Io, Dakota. Like they've had all these great women join up as teams that have made those belts into something. But I don't think the WWE does a really good job on any tag wrestling. I think I think they don't like tag wrestling, and they have proven it with how they book it. And do I think AEW has a women's team that can have the star power of Charlexa? I don't. But do I think that they will be booked better and in more meaningful stuff? Yes, because I mean,
yeah.
and I'm going to give it back to you here, but if you take like Charlotte Alexa are they're making the belts, right? Like they are the story. The belts are just part of their story, which because we know they're going to break up and they're going to have a singles feud, but they're using the belts. I want tag team belts to be used to make tag teams.
To
So,
be the story.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I want. So,
Yeah. No, your Harley Mercedes idea, you could just imagine like Mercedes carries them to a win in the first two rounds, and then in the finals, Mercedes is actually the one in peril, and Harley saves her and wins the match. Like that type of thing would be a big pop. But I think that window's closed, with the way that they're booked now. So I was challenged on X as I was celebrating this. A troll in the comments said they don't even have enough women for a tournament. Blech.
is that
So
true? That's
someone
not
said
true.
that to me. No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
not true. So here was my response. This is by no means like definitely what the brackets are, but this was my respond to a troll 2 minutes later bracket. And this is all women that they have access to right now. So I had Tony Mina,
Yep.
Megan Bain and Penelope Ford, Anna and Tay. We know Anna and Tay are part. I mean, they promoted on Collision last night about it. Then I had Sky Julia, Queen Aminata and Jamie Hayter. That's a fun tag team, by the way. Athena and Billy. And then I have Harley with Willow, though Harley and Willow are probably the two most interchangeable on this list. And then the really, really fun one that the um the underground, Sheeta and Fury is going to be in it. For those who know, they know, right? This is a tag team that is your killer tag team. I mean, they've been tagging in Japan for a very long time. They have matching gear. And on one of Sheeta's live streams, she said she brought her tag gear to America. So people are excited about that one. So that was 8 teams. That was 8 teams. I did not use Thekla. I did not use Mercedes. I did not use Chris. Um, they also have access to women from CMLL, Stardom, and the Indies. If Athena's not in the tournament, it could be Billy and Maya World. You know what I mean? Like there's so the idea that they don't have enough women is actually it's the opposite. They have a lot of fun opportunities there. Based on the way Tony I do think Tony Storm and Mina are going to be the champions first. Um, Mina
Yes.
has almost won 100 titles in the last 6 months. Like She's given Tony Storm, Mercedes, and Athena, and now Chris really, 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 really tough matches. She's being booked as like almost there. Tony doesn't have a belt anymore. And let's just be honest, people. If Mercedes has a match on pay per view, and now Chris is going to have a match on pay per view, and there's going to be a tag match, Tony Storm's not going to be on the pay per view. You know, I don't think that's what these titles will always be. Is one of the three main stars have to have them. I think to your point, we're going to get some great tag team wrestling. Um, However, Tony and Mina, the booking goes back a year for them to be a team. It's not like they're just thrown together. There's a relationship there. There's a breakup angle there that's you know possible. Like you just said though, the belt shouldn't be about that. But I see Tony and Mina being the first champs.
Yeah,
I'd love Queen and Jamie to win.
I felt like Tony and me like the way WWE did the tag belts, and you kind of knew it was going to be Sasha and Bailey. I thought this is the same thing. Like I thought, I
Yeah.
almost wonder if Tony woke up one day and be like, "Oh my God, Timeless Tony Storm doesn't have a belt.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, what do I do? How do I,
And
because
I can't give her the other one back because she's already had it 4 times.
well, I know people will hate this idea. Why can't Timeless Tony Storm be the one? And again, I think you are correct. I think it's going to be Mina and Tony. I think that's exactly the point of it. People will hate this. What if Tony Storm beats Mercedes for the TBS belt
I hate it.
after she after
That
she
TBS belt has to go to someone that gets made with it. It has to.
so
Uh,
so I think when we get I think a fun podcast topic for us will be after she breaks the record, who we think will be the one to beat her. Because I think until we get to that point, there's no. I'm excited for her matches. I always am. But I do think they've booked themselves into a little bit of a corner because everybody has that kind of calendar in their head like, oh, well, I'll care when we get past this date because we know you're going to have her break Jade's record and then she could lose to anybody, right? And then it becomes really fun because she could lose to anybody at that point.
and then when if she's still beating people, it will have the effect you want to have with a heel champion where people get uber frustrated,
Yeah.
but in like a
Yes.
boo, like in a you're the big bad type of way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Go ahead.
so we'll be talking about this at length going forward. I kind of was praying for a little bit of a bracket last night on Collision. We did not get it. What we did get last night on Collision is a second flag being planted in the world of I guess women's equality in wrestling. This is not one that's near and dear to Raj and I's heart. It doesn't make it any less impactful because again, it's all about equality. Um, we saw one of these matches in person on the men's side, not not our cup of tea, but the women are very excited about it and fans are very excited about it and they're going to go do the damn thing. We are getting a women's blood and guts match.
Okay. I saw the segment. I'm a huge Jamie Hayter fan. So I'm happy that Jamie Hayter is kind of at the forefront of introducing this and asking for it. I think that's really cool because Chris is the world champion. Mercedes is the TBS champion. We believe Tony Storm will be the tag champion. That means Jamie Hayter would need to have something herself because she doesn't have any of the belts. I think this is a good compromise. Who's their third? Am I missing something here? So it's her and Queen. They were in the ring together and they were challenging the Tekla, Sky Blue, Julia Black or Julia Hart.
Right.
Who's their partner?
Well, I think they need multiple. It's 5-on-5, isn't it usually, or is
Oh,
it?
okay, okay. Because I thought Blood and Guts is going to be 3-on-3, but you're right. It is the 5-on-5 cage match. So,
I think you could get Megan. Megan's been aligned with Thekla.
Megan and Penelope. Then
Yeah,
okay, that would
you
be
could
the
get
five.
Anna and Tay in there. So here's what we know. we know Queen works stiff, Jamie works stiff. We know Sky Blue is, and this is a huge compliment, she's crazy. She had that really fun plunder match with Tony, and she ain't going to be afraid to take bumps, and obviously, blood will be required in this match. Um, yeah, I think they just loaded up with their, you know, kind of their craziest women. I'd love for them to get Billy Starks involved in this match. I don't know. I think someone said it would be at Homecoming, which is quicker than we think. That's the 7th, 8th. It's the Wednesday. It's Tuesday the 7th. So they have 10 days to build it if that's the case.
I really had this question I wanted to ask you before we recorded. This is the football games behind me. Now I'm going to ask you on the air. You were in Ireland, Scotland, England last year, right?
I did not go to Ireland, but we were in England and Scotland. Yeah.
Okay, then the question is work. Is it true Guinness tastes much better in Ireland, in Scotland, and England than it does in America?
I cannot answer that question. What I can tell you is I had the greatest scotch of my life in Scotland multiple times.
Well, I'm
So
laughing because I see Aaron Rodgers, right? And he said that if you have Guinness in Ireland, there are like rules to how you have to clean the tap and stuff, and it's
huh,
much better. That's why.
yeah. I We were in Scotland and we'd be out at dinner and I'd be able to, go to dinner, even a nice place with a good liquor menu, and they have maybe three, four, five scotches, all the stuff people know about. But ordering scotch off of a page, a whole page, you got 60 different scotches you could choose from, and a little bit dangerous though because I'd choose something and I would love it, and I'd be like, "How am I gonna? I need to get a bottle of this and bring it home." And so, um, I was
Okay.
on the lookout all the time. So I imagine the same is true for Guinness over
Okay.
there.
Yeah, it was something I forgot to message you. Okay, so let me ask you this question. So Blood and Guts is the cage, right? It's the cage we saw in Nashville. So it's
Yep.
basically like the War Games cage. And
Yes.
what is the rules of Blood and Guts? I still feel like I don't have my, is it all 10 have to enter in the ring and then it's pinfall or submission, or is it like you don't answer the 10 count? I can't remember what the rules of Blood and Guts are. Like what's the concept?
Hey, it's been men's wrestling in the past, guys. So cut us some
Yeah, 'cause I
slack
don't
that we
know.
don't know.
I don't
We were
know.
actually in the crowd and we left when they had a dude chained to the fence to beat the crowd.
But to be fair, we both, not men's wrestling fans, were in that crowd and said, this Swerve Hangman thing, this is something. Because that was the
That was the
first
part.
time
Yeah.
where the whole crowd kind of got to their feet for these two. So what I'm hoping for, to pivot it back to what we're talking about, is out of this comes like the next non-title women's feud. Like, what if out of this Jamie and Tekla take it to a next level? Like they become these like blood rivals and then they have like a killer singles match. That's
Yeah.
okay to me. Then you're using this platform to to spin it off into something else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I guess, we'll follow up on what that is, and we should know who's in the match for next week's episode. So I think the most important thing though is a hell of a week in AEW for women's wrestling. Women's tag belts, that's going to be huge. Women's blood and guts, well earned by that locker room. The buzz is they're super excited about it. And real quick, man, I thought it was a really good episode of Dynamite for the women with no Tony Storm and no Mercedes. Not to say that, it was good because they weren't there. It was good that it was a good episode without their two main stars there. Willow had a great segment with FTR. Interesting to see where that goes. And you were very much a fan of what they did with Chris Statlander.
I was a fan of Stone Cold Chris Statlander, as I call her. So I'm going to say what you didn't say, which is I do think it was good that Tony Storm and Mercedes were not on the TV this week because they have become anchors in the good sense and they've become anchors in the bad sense, where too much of Tony's TV as it relates to women's wrestling revolves around these two. And for the first time, I thought AEW this week, I'm not just talking about Dynamite, I thought Dynamite and Collision, they showcased that this women's division has a lot of talented women. Willow has been one of the most over baby faces in all of women's wrestling for a long time. I just, for whatever reason, don't know why she hasn't gotten that rocket, but maybe it's coming now. Chris,
TBS title.
Chris, I think, in my opinion, had two of the best matches of all of last year with Mercedes, but she also had the
Plus
other.
the Willow match, so
Yeah,
three.
that's what I'm saying. She had the other non-Mercedes match, which was like one of the best women's stip matches. We both had it on our list of top 5 women's stip matches of all time. And I saw for the first time a true star-making performance for Chris Statlander. I think Chris is somebody the crowd wants to get behind. Now, let me tell you where I'm coming from with this. I was in an audience a week ago where one women's match got no reaction. And the other women's match, quite honestly, wasn't getting much of a reaction until Chris won. And then everybody got into it because they do like Chris Statlander. In that audience in Toronto, there was a lot of "you deserve it" chants, and people were clapping and they were cheering for. They want to get behind this person because she is an AEW stalwart. She is a pillar. People want to get behind her. For the first time on TV, she popped on my screen as a star. Like when she flipped Moxley and then rolled under the ring, and the way she clotheslined Yuta, I I was like, wow, this is something. Like they have, because everybody thought she was going to kill Harley, right? And she didn't. And I think for the first time, they have a true like, hey, this person can be. She's not a character like Tony Storm, and she doesn't have the pedigree and a lineage like Mercedes, where she's already been a WrestleMania main eventer. This is like their star. Like she's going to be the female Hangman Page. That's who she's going to be. And I was all for it and I loved everything they did on TV with Chris. I loved the Willow stuff, but I was so happy that Chris got the spotlight and I was so happy Jamie got it on Dynamite or on Collision. So, yes, I'm very happy of Stone Cold
Yeah.
Chris Statlander.
You know, yeah, you know, Tony and Mercedes get, I'd say Tony gets most of the TV time. Mercedes gets a match or she gets 2 minutes, but it's the only, they're not building enough around them regardless of where the time is going. And to your point, um, there's a lot of things happening now where they can take advantage of how deep that division is because they don't show it off often enough. And this is, some people have predicted with Osprey out and Swerve out and Omega out and just a bunch of those big men's names, they're going to have to um, lean into the women, and hopefully it kind of breaks that dam. And forevermore, we have a good amount of women's representation on the pay-per-views. Story representation is the big thing missing there. Good job, Tony Khan. Keep it up.
Great
Keep it
week.
up.
Yeah, great week.
WWE did some really, really good stuff with women this week, and it's not about stealing headlines, but we felt like leading with AEW was right because, again, you're making bold commitments to women. And one last thing on AEW: if you're a WWE fan that listens to this show and you've kind of not really gotten in on the AEW thing, do me a favor: keep your ear to the ground on this tag tournament. Be open-minded to watching these tag matches, because if so long as Tony Khan treats the women's tag titles the way he treats the men's tag titles, you will enjoy the matches we're going to get from these belts existing. And I'll kind of just leave it there. It's going to be really, really, really good for women's wrestling.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I think the mistake that fans often make is that I agree that WWE, in terms of just sheer star power, women to women roster, it's really not even worth comparing because it's such a big gap. But AEW can easily close the gap by making new stars and by using these type of platforms, the tag belts, blood and guts, Chris, being kind of the anti-establishment champion to make new stars. And that's what Tony really has to do. He has talent, but talent has to be harnessed. And I think a lot of times with AEW, I think the two most underutilized women on that, actually the three, like I think Willow, Chris, and Jamie can be all big stars. I just think for the last 2 years, they have been underutilized. Now, I know
Yeah,
Jamie had the injury, but to me, I would look at those three women and I would figure out a way to get them to the level of Timeless Tony Storm, of Mercedes, and honestly, the best thing for Tony Khan would be that those three women surpass Tony Storm and Mercedes, because then you can always bring Tony and Mercedes back because they already have the cachet. So I think it was a very productive week for AEW. They should be very happy. I was very happy. I found Dynamite to be a good watch this week. I found Collision to be a good watch. But that wasn't the only history that was made for women's wrestling this week. So I'm going to set the stage here. About uh, 30 years ago, All Japan Women's Wrestling was the women's wrestling promotion of the world. Like, All Japan was not just women's wrestling. But for all intents and purposes, it could have been just women's wrestling because they were the ones who drew the tickets. They were the ones who sold the t-shirts, and they were the ones who would sell the calendars. Calendars were really big in the mid 90s for Joshi women. And they used to be on free Japanese TV. So you could just turn on your TV in Japan and watch All Japan Pro Wrestling. So you could watch Manami Toyota fight Hokuto at the Tokyo Dome for free.
yep.
23 years ago was the last time women's wrestling aired on free Japanese TV until this past Friday night, where Saya's match was aired on terrestrial TV in Japan because, wow, pick six, Carson Wentz. Eagles fans, that I have flashbacks, nightmares.
That was a fumble, actually.
It was a fumble.
Yeah, it was a fumble.
Did Wentz fumble?
No, whoever ran the ball
Oh,
fumbled.
is it Aaron Jones? Oh, he's down. Never mind. Okay. Um, what I was saying is, so we had Saya, who a lot of people think is going to be the next, the next Manami Toyota in Japan, which is she's going to win the MVP, like the athlete of the year in Japan, and she's going to be the one to get women's wrestling back on free TV, and she's going to be the one that sells all the calendars and all of the posters and stuff. And so she, wants to take, her matches to the Tokyo Dome, but she got to air on terrestrial TV. So
Big deal.
it's a very big deal. And I think that what it speaks to is that in Japan, you have this once in a generation performer in Saya kind of doing what another once in a generation performer in Mercedes wants to do outside of the WWE umbrella, which is like, hey, I want to go to these different spots and have women's wrestling be a thing. Now, let's get to the real stuff here. On YouTube, Stardom aired Saya versus Azumi in, I guess it's not really a merger match of titles. It was title for title. So, Saya put her Stardom belt on the line against Azumi, who put the NJPW Strong title on the line. And I'm just gonna flat out say it. This is my second favorite women's match of the year. I'm still gonna have the WrestleMania three-way as number one, but this match was ridiculous. This was 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. 1,650 people sold out Korakuen Hall. It was a complete sellout. This match, I'm going to tell you this: if you're not into Joshi wrestling, and I don't know how you could listen to this podcast and not be, but if you aren't, you got to go watch this match. This match is everything I want out of like a main event women's match. This was fantastic. I think I think Saya is Manami Toyota's heel daughter. Thoughts?
Yeah, oh yeah, I really enjoyed the match as well. I think it was a brilliant move to put it on free YouTube. Um, they knew they were going to have a match that delivered, a card that delivered. But what I think is important about it is you have Azumi has a pretty good US fan base because of the work she's done over here and with Mercedes and being the NJPW Strong Women's Champion. Um, Saya obviously has carried Stardom. If you're not paying attention to that side of women's wrestling, they lost a lot of stardom. Just trying to think of a different word. Stardom lost a lot of stardom. They lost a lot of star power. And didn't reload the full clip. Really, just gave it to her to carry, and she did. And to your point, getting on terrestrial TV, the amount of eyes that were on that show, it was a big deal. Um, Really, really, really good hard hitting match. A lot of good near falls, maybe some near falls that were past near fall that weren't falls, but that would be the only nitpick, which is I'm more picking on the referees because that's my one bugaboo. Um, you saw the opposite in WWE where it's like we'll get into that on
We'll get to
SmackDown,
the
but
reign. We'll get to
w-
the reign of terror.
we had some pinfall errors this week across the board, but no, Saya and Azumi was really good. I'm gonna say something that's gonna scare some people. Um, I think that if we are looking across the normal channels, Mercedes is the hands down number one PWI women's champion or women for the past year across the normal channels because of her global impact and the multiple belts and everything, and along with the stellar record and the great match catalog. Her if she finishes number two, it's going to be to Saya, and that's because of a great match catalog, dominance in booking, and also a gigantic business impact that maybe doesn't get um, propped up enough. So members of the crew listening to me, and I could be wrong, and it could be EO, but I'm just saying Saya has the best argument. If you're saying it's Mercedes because of business impact and changing the game, her best counterpart in that category is actually Saya, um, because she's brought Stardom to a very healthy place. Say
Yes,
it.
I want to clarify something. I tweeted that, this is who I would put number one. But again, PWI has a specific criteria and a time frame that they do this measurement on, right?
Yeah,
PWI isn't like, yeah, I like EO because EO had the X best matches this year. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's wins, it's losses, it's booking, it's this, it's that, right? There's a criteria to it, a metric to it. And from what was sent to me, I think it was you who sent me the criteria for this. I didn't see a path for a WWE woman other than Tiffany to be number one based on their criteria. I'm not thinking about my list because Tiffany wouldn't even make my top 10, but I mean, on their criteria, Tiffany is the only person I think that could be number one because she has not lost in a long time she's never lost since she got the belt, period. She hasn't lost a tag match. She hasn't been counted out. She's won every match. I don't think she'll be number one, but she would be the WWE person based on their criteria. I don't think it's Io. I don't think it's Rhea. I don't think it's Bianca. I don't think it's, JC Jane. It like to me, it's going to be Mercedes, Saya, and that would be the two, and then maybe Tiffany. But I know if it was Tiffany, people would think WWE spent money to buy this. Nobody would actually think of it as a valid number one. But my point is, my number one, and when I do my end of the year list, it has nothing to do with PTI. It's going to be my number one. Like when you do your list, it'll be your number one, right? So PWI is a specific criteria. So I want to clarify that because
Yeah.
people were like messaging me like, oh, they were sending me like, and okay, I'm gonna ruffle feathers here, so be it. If you have to put together an Excel spreadsheet to tell me that this wrestler is the best wrestler, I think you've lost the plot. One, this is art. Number two, I think we're getting too into the weeds here with Excel spreadsheets and number three, I'm not the one you have to convince that Mercedes should be the number one person. I am not a PWI voter. You have to convince PWI. What I said was if I were to do my list as of September 25th, 2025, Mercedes would not be my number one. But that does not mean she will not win PWI.
Who did you have in front of her?
I had more than one person ahead of her. I had Io, I had Saya, I might even have Rhea. But it's September. It's
Oh,
September.
you're talking 2025.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not talking like yeah. I'm not talking about P. The PWI
Yeah.
is September to September, right? It's not
Yeah. And
okay.
that's the part that maybe people are getting confused on because if you take Chris, and Hazuki off of Mercedes'
Oh,
resume,
yeah, 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 yeah. September to September, I thought it was a no-brainer that it's going to be Mercedes because the Hazuki match is in there, the two Chris matches were in there, the Momo
right?
match, the second Momo match was in there, the Jamie match is in there, the Tony match is in there. I
Athena,
the Athena match, and to me, that alone, like if that was in one, like if Chris one and Chris two and Hazuki happened in 2025, Mercedes would be my number one person.
right,
Those three matches I like better than any match Mercedes has had this year. I love the Jamie match, but I think the two Chris matches and the Hazuki match are better. And that's why Mercedes is not my number one this year so far.
right. I do want to warn everyone, PWI doesn't probably hold match quality as high as we all would. And here's a great example. 2015, Sasha Banks finished number two. If you recall, she rarely lost in 2015. Um, and when she did, it was meaningful losses. She lost to Nikki Bella, who was undefeated. Nikki Bella was number one. She didn't lose to Nikki Bella. For the calendar they used, Nikki Bella was
But
undefeated.
but Sasha Banks was Woman of the Year in 2015.
Correct.
She was
Which is that
Woman
a
of the
different
Year, but she
calendar?
wasn't Wrestler of the Year. Okay.
Well, yeah. Okay. Um, Saya, it's free on YouTube. No reason not to watch it. It needs to be part of
Okay.
your viewing library. Um, Pivoting to making my friend here's brain explode on October 27th. It is official. Uh, Grand
Destiny.
Grand Destiny. Uh, we will be getting Mayu Iwatani versus Io Sky. Let that breathe for a second.
Well, I, okay, so this is so I don't know. So look, I'm not
Sure.
gonna lie. WWE did this on purpose, right? And I know why they did it, right? Stardom is getting all this buzz. Saya, Azumi, YouTube for free. They're like, ugh, wait. We don't want the attention to be somewhere else. EO, they had this because what's so funny is EO cut this promo with the same outfit she wore on Raw. So, so you know that before Raw started, they had her tape this promo, and they were waiting. They're like, okay, everybody's talking about Joshi women. Bam, let's put it on the internet. There are very few legitimate dream matches. This is one of them, and they have not wrestled. The Thunder Rock girls have not wrestled each other, I think, in 7 years, and the reason I have such high so let me start by saying this is like this I have already penciled this in match of the year. It has not happened yet. We have not seen them even lock up. I already have it at number one. It's already in pencil. Now I can erase it. I already have it as number one, and I already have it as a 6-star match right now in pencil. My expectations for this match is if it is not one of the three best women's matches of all time, it's a disappointment. That is my bar. That is my bar for this match.
And when Raj holds a bar like that, he holds it because, as I've argued several times here, Mayu Mercedes is a really good 12-minute match. Now, it's perplexing why it's 12 minutes, but if you go back and watch it, there isn't 30 seconds of that match that isn't killer. But Raj had the bar up in heaven, essentially,
Yeah.
and can't see it through the normal lens. But I actually watched the match again this week. There is not, I said 30 seconds. There's not 15 seconds of that match that's bad. There's not 15 seconds of that match that's not meaningfully good. It's just not long enough.
It's a really good match. It's not long enough. The ending to me fell flat. I really
Because
was
it was short.
expecting
Yeah.
I was expecting Mercedes to kick out of that move once and before she ended up losing to it. So in my life, I have said that there were two matches that I thought would be the best women's match ever. Neither of them lived up to it. Io, Sasha Banks NXT did not. Mayu Sasha Banks did not. So could it be that Sasha Banks was the reason? And now when you put Mayu and Io together, you're going to get the best women's match of all
You
time.
can't watch those matches and see that the booking is the problem. Why they
No,
didn't live
no,
up to your expectations? Come on.
I thought that Sasha Io was it was the right place to have the match because they needed the rating against AEW, but I didn't need Bailey. I didn't need the car. I didn't need Asuka. I didn't need the mist. Like all of that. I hated that an EO Sasha Banks match was being used to prop up an Asuka Sasha Banks feud because I didn't think they needed it to be done this way. But let's get to this. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick though, Sasha Banks and the EO Stephanie Vaquer shows that they have grown in the way they book women's wrestling because, to your point, no one backstage back then really looked at matches and said, these two aren't even on the same brand. There's no reason to not just let them cook, right? There's no reason to not just let them go out there and throw fire bolts. And we were both happy that EO Stephanie on this third match on WrestlePalooza, they didn't layer in anything they didn't need to and just let them wrestle. And that happens too rarely in WWE. Um, so props to them on that. And that's certainly not going to be an issue for
Now let me
EO
let me
Mayu.
let me give Mercedes before I talk about Mayu and EO again. Mercedes, let me give her props here because I think both Mercedes Stephanie Vacour matches are better than all three EO Stephanie Vacour matches. I think the worst Mercedes Stephanie match, which is probably the one at Forbidden Door of the
Yeah.
two, is still better than all three EO Stephanie matches.
Mercedes has probably the two best no build, no fluff, no nothing, no don't even know a reason why they're fighting matches I've ever seen. And that Mercedes Suzuki and Mercedes Stephanie won in that tournament. Literally no backstory, never promote each other, just hey, we're gonna wrestle, and it was great.
And your favorite Uncle Dave actually thought that she could have had a number three. He believes, like you do, that Mercedes Willow, before Mercedes injuries, was on its way to being one of the best women's matches of all time.
It was. Breaks my
He
heart.
he
It
was
was.
he was on his way. He said that he had it. He was ready to say, "Hey, this might be the best North American women's match of all time," as he was watching it, and then she got injured.
So in order to have the greatest match of all time, the bar is so high, your first 5 minutes have to be a level of good. Your next 5 minutes have to be a certain level of like it has to build on itself. So 3 to 5 minutes into every match that will ever happen, whether it's going to reach those heights or not. Charlotte Rhea is a good example. Really, really great at the end. The thing that brings it down is the beginning. If you go back and watch Willow Mercedes, the first 12 minutes are cooking, and
Yeah.
they with a layered story and a build to a finish, a meaningful enough finish that it God makes me sad. All right,
Yeah.
Io Mayu.
Io Mayu to me, I need 30 minutes and I need the WWE producers to stay away from this match. Like they need to just never, they don't even need to show up to work that day. I need this to be Mayu and Io calling it in the ring like it was a Stardom match in 2016, 2017, 2018, Thunder Rocks. And I need them to go out there and show that, hey, I think Mayu needs this match a lot more than Io does personally. I think for somebody as talented as Mayu Iotani is, and a lot of people, she's the icon of Stardom. I think going to Marigold has been a miss for her. I don't
Yeah,
think it's been a great move for her. I think Mayu has a lot of look, she does business for herself, and we've covered it here. She loses to who she wants to lose to. She mostly wins. She didn't want to lose to Mercedes. That's why she didn't come to the United States, but she was sure willing to beat Mercedes in Japan. She wouldn't lose to who they wanted her to lose to in Stardom, but she lost to who she wanted to lose to.
she might have broken. I would wager that if I sat her down and I was, again, it all depends on what you want. What do you want out of professional wrestling? But if I sat her down and gave her advice, this breakthrough into the market outside of wrestling that we're seeing from Stardom now could have happened if she did a trilogy with Mercedes, and all it would have taken to do a trilogy with Mercedes is lose the first match, and she would have won the next two.
Mhm.
Um, and it would have done Tokyo Dome business. Uh, that being said, Io's doing the honors here, right? She
I
doesn't
don't
have a
think
belt. You don't think so?
I don't
I
because I think
so WWE is going to TNA Marigold,
that's fine because if you
a
know it,
non-belt holder beating your top belt holder.
yeah, because I think that Marigold books around EO. Like if you notice when this event is happening, it's when WWE's in Japan.
I totally get that. I just,
Right.
you know, take fandom out of it.
Yeah, yeah. No,
An outsider pinning your top champion in wrestling is
yeah,
seen as poor business,
it is.
and it's not for the title, correct?
I don't think so.
Right.
Here's why I think Mayu will lose this match. I think Mayu will lose this match because Mayu wants to lose this match. I think Mayu wants to lose to Io. I think Mayu wants to prove to everybody that she is not tough to do business with and she's willing to lose. But of course, she's willing to lose to the woman who is her mentor. And of course, she's willing to lose if they pay her the right amount of money. I think, look, I could be totally wrong about this. I just don't see WWE sending one of their tent poles to Marigold for her to lose. That's how
Yeah,
I'm looking at this.
I
And
totally get that, and that's why I said though. And again, this is take EO away from this. This is why the CMLLs and Stardoms and NJPWs are going to continue to be the anti with AEW, because say what you want about Tony Khan, um, he's a good partner. Tony Storm is a tentpole in AEW, and she did the business for La Catalina at Arena Mexico. She got pinned. It might be why she doesn't win PWI number one. She got pinned clean in 9 minutes. But I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying if every time a WWE person comes into the roost, TNA, AAA, Marigold, the WWE person wins all the time. That's not partnership.
I agree, but I think that I just don't think WWE is even willing to let Io Sky do Marigold unless she's going to win. Like I just don't think
Yeah,
they would let her do it. And
probably
I'm just
right.
and to me, this will be now. This will be also. I think this is also Mayu's tryout with WWE.
Gonna move to America.
They have wanted her for so long. Well, Ma Mayu's weird, right? Because she'll on one hand say, "Yeah, I don't want to move to America," but if they pay me the money that they pay Io, well, I'd be listening. Well, the money's going to be there for her. And like I said, Mayu Iwatani comes to WWE. Hey, you know what, Triple H? I apologize. No, I'm kidding. Um,
I don't think they'll ever let her. Well, you'd have to lock the producers away every time she had a match and just leave it alone and just let her figure it out with, because they would
yeah,
ruin her.
I've always wondered would Mayu work in America? Like to me, if the Mayu Iwatani as she is presently constructed, I think AEW is the better fit for her than WWE. But like they're like how would they book her in AEW? Would she just be Jade? Would she just beat everybody and then her last match out she loses like that?
So that's a great point, because you said AEW, and the first thing that came to my mind is if Tony threw Mayu in the ring with Jamie Hayter, I know the match would be good
Mhm.
because they would get to do what they would get to do. If if Mayu got thrown in the ring with Rhea Ripley, who I think is incredible in a WWE ring, I don't know that it would be produced in order for them to have the type of match they could have. Like we might have like interference, or you know what I mean? Like,
I,
and that's the
yeah,
difference. And so what does that look like with Mayu, who's such a straightforward machine, you know?
if I were to book Mayu Iwatani in the WWE, like if I had the book, Mayu would be the person's name I'm not going to mention on the men's side, and you guys can figure out who I'm talking about. I would book her like that. I
Right.
would book her to come in and kill everybody.
Yeah.
Literally, because she would be stone cold, straight face Terminator. Because that baby face baseball pitch gimmick, the icon, what she does in Stardom, I don't think it works in America. But I think
Right.
if you turn like in the perfect world, Mayu Iwatani is the third member of Asuka's clique.
Yeah.
And and
All
and
right. Well,
and War Games now is Asuka. I am really fantasy booking this one here.
yeah, we're
Asuka,
going into dreamscapes here.
Mayu, um, Roxanne Raquel against no, sorry, by Raquel, Becky go in. It's gonna be no, actually, I like Raquel. Keep Becky out of it. So I'm gonna go Io, Rhea, Bianca, AJ. I don't know. I got to think about it. But I
Yeah.
would love to see Mayu Iwatani in WWE. No, I think Mayu Io is going to be, like I said, I have very high hopes. The Saya Azumi match, that's my bar. That's the bar.
Okay.
I think they should have a match that good.
So you brought her up. Well, we've been talking about Io, and then you just, Asuka. I think we'll move to WWE business off of that exciting announcement. Io, Asuka finally turned on Io. We saw it coming. Sometimes the best written angles are the ones that make the most sense. This one makes a hell of a lot of sense. We're going to get some Io Asuka matches out of it, which will be super exciting. And we are getting Stockholm Syndrome Kyrie, which is one of my favorite developments from this whole thing. She's doing a fantastic job doing Asuka's bidding because she's Kyrie, so afraid of her. Great segment to finish the show, to main event a show. Really, really good segment.
I thought Asuka and Rhea had one of the best matches I've seen on Raw TV in a long time.
Yeah.
That match was great. Asuka winning was fine. I mean, sorry, Rhea winning was fine because it led to what we got, which was, Asuka missed Rhea because she was so pissed that she lost.
The most missed ever, by the way.
Yes, but then she turned Rhea into a Smurf, and then Io runs out, and then you get the sense is Io joining them, and then Asuka's like, no, I'm just gonna backhand you too. Backhanded her, beat her up. Kyrie doesn't know what to do. Kyrie's like, no, yes, no, yes. But to me, the best part of this whole thing was Asuka's work on social media is the best work I'm seeing out of any woman right now. She is on social media calling Io a loser. That's why you lost. She's calling Rhea, a snake. Like she's really like needling both of them. And I think it's gonna set the stage for a tag team women's main event in Perth, Australia, where Io and Rhea Ripley will main event
When
again,
is that event?
October 23rd, I believe.
And they have Crown Jewel in between that.
Yeah, yeah, they have
Yeah.
three shows in Australia. So they have SmackDown, they have Crown Jewel, and they have Raw. And I think the main event of one of those shows is going to be Rio, not Riho, Rio versus the Kabuki Warriors. And I believe that the Asuka Io eventual feud is going to be a main event non-title worthy feud. It's a feud that the crowd is hot for. It's a feud that people want. And I think finally, WWE audience has found a Japanese woman that they will cheer and boo Asuka because they love Io that much. So I always, and maybe Kyrie gets there too. Like maybe Kyrie ends up becoming the biggest baby face out of all of this when she finally turns on Asuka. I have
Right.
always felt like WWE has misutilized Kyrie. This is the first time I kind of like what they're doing with her.
So Kyrie was one of my favorite NXT women's champions because Kyrie is easy to root for, and Shayna Baszler and her did some really, really good work.
Mhm.
Um, People forget Kyrie was the very first winner of the Mae Young Classic.
Mhm.
Io didn't win the Mae Young Classic. She lost to Tony Storm. Kyrie was in the very first the very first tournament that they did where they opened up their arms to the indie women around the world and they were able to pick from that whole group, hey, who do we want um winning? They picked Kyrie, and on WWE TV, she has not gotten a single dominant year. Not one year where you're like Kyrie's going on all cylinders, and it's just kind of a
I,
bummer. So
I
I
truly, yeah.
they have. I'd love to see her, even as the IC title, a major over run as the IC champion. Something like that would be. great.
I always thought Kyrie would be what EO is in WWE. I thought
Yeah.
Kyrie would have been the bigger American star over EO. Like I said, there is so much to dislike about TKO, WWE, Triple H's booking. There's so much to dislike. But the one thing I cannot knock them for is from the day EO got into the company, they have booked her correctly. Like, if the worst thing they did for her was they kept her off TV for 2 months and then she came back and main evented against Rhea Ripley, if that's the worst booking she got, then I'll take it. Because
Yeah.
usually my favorites don't get that, even that kind of bad, good booking. So, yeah, I'm with you on Kyrie. Um, I've always been a bigger EO fan than Kyrie. Like, I think EO's just a better wrestler, but I always thought Kyrie had such a likable babyface kind of shtick that it would work, but it hasn't clicked in America for whatever reason.
Agreed. But it could still happen, and they're doing some really good stuff to set the stage there. Is good booking our transition into the Reign of Terror?
The Reign of Terror. Yeah, let's talk about hold on. No, my watch is working. Let's talk about Tiffy time. So I again correctly predicted this week that she would win. Everybody is like, no, it's Jay. This is Jay. Because as soon as I don't know, you might have, I don't think you watched it live. I know I didn't. The timeline's like, oh, is this the week she's gonna lose? And then it's like, oh, they're gonna main event. She has to lose. And then they were like, well, okay, even if she doesn't lose, Bianca's coming back. Like, because Bianca was seen in the, like, she was there. So everybody's
Right.
like, oh, okay, Bianca. I said, look, once they start telling you how undefeated somebody is and how somebody hasn't lost all year and how they have the longest reign since whenever, this isn't ending anytime soon. I still believe she will not lose this belt till WrestleMania. I still think she's keeping it all the way until next WrestleMania. But in this time, she's going to turn heel somewhere. But everybody hates people. If you listen to, if you just read Twitter or X, people have this as like a Jinder Mahal booked reign. Like
Yeah.
they have this as Jinder Mahal bad.
I think she's starting to lose the crowd too, not just on Twitter. I think she's less over than she was because she was very over before. I'm not saying she's not over. I'm saying I also, and not to derail this, um, they sold 5,200 less tickets to this show than their last time go round.
Where were they? Do you know?
Orlando.
Oh, they were in Orlando. Okay, gotcha,
They
gotcha.
did over 15.5 the last time in Orlando. This one was 10.2. So there are signs that less people are buying tickets. The same was evident in Evansville. I think it was, not as big of a deal in Evansville, but Orlando is one of their major, obviously, backyard areas, and they sold less tickets for this than their last time through. Um, I'm not gonna, we call it the Reign of Terror because it is starting to feel like Triple H booking, like he was booked as a champion, where you look and you're like, God, he beat everyone. He beat everyone you ever cared about. He beat him clean. He beat him at major events. And as Bret Hart would say, no good. There are no great matches out of any of them, and if there were, you don't watch it and go, "Man, I'd like to wrestle that guy." Uh, but
I Yeah.
Tiffany actually is a better wrestler than Triple H, in my opinion. I don't think Triple H was a great wrestler. If there was not a plunder match, what name me your favorite Triple H sequence that he did that wasn't plunder related?
Oh, I mean,
Anyway,
that's, I there I th- oh I think you're selling Triple H way short to say he's not as good a wrestler as Tiffany. I can tell you. Here's the thing. I think
I'm
Triple
kind of being
H.
facetious. I'm kind of being
No, no, no. I
facetious.
think Triple H is both overrated and underrated. Like, I think he's overrated if he gets into these conversations of all-time greats. Like,
He's booked
it,
like an all-time
like
great.
if he gets into the oh he's Michaels or he's Savage or he's Guerrero, then he's overrated because he's not those guys, right? But I do think Triple H has had a lot some good matches. Like I remember his matches with The Rock. I remember his matches with Benoit. I remember his matches. Here's my favorite Triple H match, and everybody can go and we can get back to Tiffany. Um, oh, Taka Michinoku, Triple H, 2000, Monday Night Raw. Go watch that match. Triple H sold like rent was due. He had
Yeah.
me believing Taka Michinoku was going to win the world title.
I,
So
I I do I do remember that match.
that was a really good match. But back to Tiffy time here. So I'm not as invested in her opponents, so I don't really care that she wins. And what I mean by that is I'm not really a big Jade person. So Jade losing to me, I don't really care. Nia losing for the 19th time, I don't care. And Nia, we can have a separate topic about her. I never wanted to see Charlotte beat Tiffany, so I didn't care that Tiffany won the match. Trish Stratus is not going to beat Tiffany. So okay, so I know it's a reign of terror. That's what it feels like. Of the opponents that Tiffany has faced since she won the title, name to me the opponent that you think legitimately should have beat her.
The way they've booked it and the choices I've been given, it should have been Jade, or they should have not continued putting her in there with her.
Okay.
Jade is paid in a salary range where you do not need to. It's not Zombieland where you don't need to double tap, triple tap, and that's my opinion on it. If she beats Jade, fine. Beating Jade several times is stupid. Um, because Jade, as a presence alone, whether you think she's a good wrestler or not, as a presence alone, you just protect how often someone beats her. Now she's beaten Jade enough that the next woman that beats Jade means less than it would have meant had Tiffany only beat her once. Real quick, shout out to Jade. That gash she got in her forehead is nasty. And there
Yeah.
were a lot of wrestlers in the world who would have tapped out mid-match on that. I mean, that's to the skull.
Yeah, that was bad. It's really
That
bad.
is to the part of the meat you're not supposed to see. And, people could argue whether she missed the spot or Nia missed the spot or whatever, but that is the type of wound that will have you calling out of work for a week plus. And she went along with the match and she did some more, some more good spots in there. So tough. You can't say she's not in there trying her ass off.
It's interesting. I've never really been Jade's biggest fan as an in-ring worker, but I actually really like her and Tiffany together.
I
Like I
liked their match
actually
before
like
this one a
them.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I like them as a pairing. That's my thing with this Tiffany Reign. Okay, I'm not comparing the two, but it's gonna sound like I am. Okay. So nobody has believed that in any of these TBS title matches, Mercedes is gonna lose. That's fine. But at least the matches we are getting are good. Right? Like, okay, the outcome is predictable. Mercedes is gonna win. But man, we got those two Chris matches. And we got the Jamie match was a tournament match, but we got the Athena match. Oh, the Athena match was a tournament match. So I'm talking about TBS title matches. The two Chris matches, I guess the Riho match,
Momo.
Momo. Okay. With Tiffany, if they were to like, they're gonna be like, you know what, Billy and Raja, here's the deal. Tiffany's gonna have 450-day title reign. She's gonna break the all-time record. Get used to it. My retort would be great. Who's she fighting? And am I gonna care about those matches? And if Tiffany went out there and just put on great match after great match after great match after great match and had a 450-day reign, I don't think anybody would complain about it. The
The
problem
matches need to be better.
the problem is her matches have woefully underperformed. Woefully underperformed. I mean, when Trish Stratus is carrying you in a match, that's not a good thing. Because Trish as
Yeah.
the part-timer, like Trish needed to be taken care of the way AJ Lee put on Instagram Becky took care of her. To me, that's what it should have been. That's not what we got. Here's the other problem with this long, and again, it's going to end to me in Mania. I don't know what the good match is. Because I guess the best match Tiffany has had in this reign is the Bailey match.
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
match?
Uh, yeah, that's the best match. That's probably the best match.
Well,
If you're just
what about the last woman standing with Nia? That was good.
yeah, and the last Jade match was very good as well.
The one where she splattered Nia's nose.
Yeah.
And here's the
Um,
thing with Tiffany, and
I
I
laughed at
know
splattered, not
this.
that Nia got. Yeah.
Tiffany, if you listen to this podcast, and I'm a fan of yours, might not sound like it today, but I am. I've always been. You need to talk to your fellow coworkers backstage on why they don't know how to catch you. I don't know how many times they have missed catching her on these dives that she does, to the point where if I were her, I wouldn't do it anymore unless I have like they need to do the Stardom thing where they bring like seven guys from the crowd and they catch her because she has never been caught correctly. And I agree with you also on something you said at the very beginning of this. I do think she's less over now. I do. I listen to the crowd and I'm like, oh, it's not when she'd go like this, everybody's like, ah, it's like because it's first off, it's repetitive. She's fought the same two, she has defended her title 9 times. So she's had the belt for 9 months. She's had 9 title defenses. Do you know 6 have been against Nia Jax? 6. So that's also part of the problem here, right? Like if Mercedes defended her TBS title 9 times against Chris, or 6 times against Chris out of 9 times, but I got those 6 Chris matches, I take it. I'll be like, oh, you know what? Hey, you beat Chris every time, but man, I'm getting 4.5 stars every time. Fine. I'm not getting that with Tiffany versus Naya. I'm just not.
Right.
So, yeah.
Um, well, again, shout out to Jade. Tough as nails. Some people may question why she's in the business, but I think she earned her stripes pretty thoroughly. Um, Not letting that take her out of the match. But a couple more news notes, and then Raj is debuting a new segment that I actually do not.
Yes, you do not know, but I gotta say this. And shout out, he's a very avid listener of this podcast. Jermaine, who's also a diehard Eagles fan. So Jermaine, when you watch this, I just had the reaction of all us Eagles fans watching post-injury Carson Wentz play quarterback, which is, oh no, and then he throws the interception. Okay, you want to talk about NXT and TNA?
Yeah, yeah. Probably don't need to dive too deep. But I we should mention Ash by Elegance. Uh, Fortunately, and we don't know why, had to vacate her TNA championship. It seems like she will be out of action for a while. We didn't get details on TV nor any backstage news breaking, but you got to feel for her. We talked about a couple episodes ago. She's put in the work um, to really grow from the Dana Brooke years. And, a lot of people were happy to see her as TNA champion. Um, you know, and this kind of is out of nowhere, right? I mean, she was set to defend the title, and then this came about. So they didn't, Vacant did not hold the belt for very long. They jumped directly to a title match, and it was Lei Jing versus Kalani Jordan, and Kalani coming out on top. So you've got another WWE person holding a belt in TNA. That being said, Kalani is the former Dana Brooke was her mentor in NXT, and so this is kind of a symbolic handoff. Um, I am one of the earliest owners of Kalani Jordan stock, so I'm always about her winning a title. I think she's going to be a big star. Um, I would be more happy if Trick Williams wasn't already a champion over at TNA and this wasn't becoming the thing. But happy for Kalani, and I think they're going to get some good work out of her. in that
Get
spot.
well soon, Ash by Elegance, formerly known as Dana Brooke.
Yes.
Whatever health issues you're going through, wish you well recovery. Hope you come back. Very proud of what you have done in TNA. You've worked to become a really, good overall performer. And to the guy who was seen on camera,
Ah, disgusting.
who, when she was pouring her heart out and talking about, this, and the guy who was making those,
Lewd gestures, we'll
yeah,
call
blue
it.
gestures, thank you. You are exactly why most of us male wrestling fans who watch women's wrestling for the right reasons care about the performers, the in-ring action, the storytelling, and the art that they do. You give us all a bad name because that was so uncalled for, and it really, like, it brought the wrong attention to a segment that should have got attention for a different reason, because that same guy would never do it if Roman Reigns was saying, hey, I got cancer,
Right.
he would never do that. So to me, to that person out there, you're an ass. Now, I love Kalani winning the title because she is a great, she was great at the North American title. I think she's a future, like you've always said, she's going to be a big star. I am getting a little tired of the WWE wrestlers winning in all these other territories, because you just said it when we were talking about Mayu versus Io. It's not a partnership at this point. It's basically Big Brother. And, for me, what I would do is Trick Williams and Kalani Jordan should actually jump to TNA. Like, they should be like invaders who, like, went to the other side to make this at least somewhat believable. So congratulations, Kalani Jordan. I know you're going to have some awesome matches in TNA, and there's a lot of good women to work with down there, or even on the NXT roster. So happy that the spotlight was hers. Before we go to the segment I want to debut, NXT, three women's matches on No Mercy. One very shocking result, in my opinion. Two, I thought, I think you could make a case two is shocking, but let's go through the three matches. So Sol Roca defended her speed title against Jada Parker. Speed title, for those of you who don't know, I think you have to win under 5 minutes. It used to be
Yep.
three, it's been changed to five. I hate this concept. I think it's one of the dumber things that anybody's ever come up with. I do not want to watch a 5 minute women's wrestling match. The whole reason the Divas revolution, and the founder of women's wrestling, Stephanie McMahon, made sure that we got these longer matches. It's like you're going back to exactly what we hated about how the women were booked, 5 minute
Right.
matches. And these are two super great competitors. Like, I want to see them have a 15
Why
minute.
didn't they do a North American belt? Or
Yeah.
I don't like the speed format for the major shows. If it's an additional match that's made for social media, it's not bad. But if you're going to put it on a regular show, then it just highlights that we fought to get away from this.
Yeah. Second match, I love this match. It was the weaponized steel cage match between Jordana Grace and Blake Monroe. Jordan Grace won this match. A lot of people were shocked that she would win this match. A lot of people thought, okay, Blake already beat her. Let Blake beat her again and let Blake go on to something else. But I think Jordan needed this win. She needed something because I think her booking in NXT has been bad, quite honestly. Like, I don't think it's
Terrible.
been good at all. So I think she needed this. I don't know if it does anything for her. I don't know if it moves the needle at all. But I love this match. I thought they used the weapons very well, and they're both very stiff workers. And this is where, Blake Monroe, the FKA Mariah May shines. This is where she shines. She shines in these type of matches. I loved this match. And then the third match. Now this one I don't get. I'm thinking, okay, so you're doing the NXT show in Fort Lauderdale, which is Lola Vice's home city. You have put her on AAA. You've put her in vignettes with Stephanie Vacour, who you obviously think very highly of. Damian, like she's been out there. And I thought this whole segment, this whole setup was for her to win the title. But until I saw Tuesday, she knocked out JC Jane. So I'm like, oh, she's gonna lose.
Yep.
She's gonna lose. And she lost. Because what we assume is Lainey Reed joined Fatal Influence. For those of you who don't know, Jordan Nick,
Jasmine X.
Jasmine Nix, sorry, Jasmine Nix left. Is no longer with NXT, so they're going to replace her. Lainey Reed is the one everybody says they're going to replace her with, and she came out in an all black ninja suit and kneed her in the head. She rolled into the ring, and JC pinned her after JC hit her with a finishing move. But I really thought Lola Vice winning the title was the move here. But a lot of people love JC Jane's heel work, and a lot of people are happy that she retained. So hey, who am I? But yeah,
Yeah, not much to add. Jordan Grace, who I'm a fan of, and again, it's one of those things where I don't presume that that she listened to the podcast, and I don't want to be sounding like I'm criticizing her. I am, for a big free agent signing though, they have let the air out of the balloon. Um, she was in two Royal Rumbles, and in both, she was one of the most. The first one, you can make the argument and go, "Oh, people are just shocked she's there," right? So maybe it's not Jordan Grace that they're excited about. Maybe it's the shock of you know the door being open to TNA. But on the second go round, it was pretty clear that she was very over in her interactions with Naomi and whatnot. So there's a lot more that should have been done with her, bringing her in. She's lost. This is her first big match. I think she's won. So I guess better late than never. I don't know that it helps enough at this point because you've got a lot of work to do to rebuild her. So one match isn't going to do it. Thought it was a fun match though. And then Lola, I would make the argument that they're just withholding the win to make it an even bigger babyface win because I don't think there's anyone else set up to take the belt off of JC. That being said, why wouldn't you do it in front of the Fort Lauderdale crowd? I don't know. But yeah, I guess that remains to be seen.
feels like Lola winning in a cage is something, and then I think Lola's going to lose that belt to Blake Monroe. I just
Yeah.
don't see how Blake Monroe doesn't get this belt at some point. So a lot of people think Lola's going to get called up. Main roster is already very crowded. There's just too much talent well, let me take that back. SmackDown could maybe use a Lola Vice, but Raw certainly doesn't need anybody.
Yeah.
All right. So new segment alert. This is an idea that I have 100% stolen, but I think for what we do every week, it works. So I find most of this sports commentators' opinions to be awful. Most. Okay. So the person I'm stealing this idea from is Nick Wright on First Things First. Shout out though, I do think he has some really, really good ideas. And when he stays away from the awful LeBron takes and the awful proven wrong Jalen Hurts takes wrong, he's actually pretty decent. So he has a segment every week called Mahomes Mountain. Okay. And what it is he ranks in a pyramid style that week all the NFL quarterbacks. So he calls it Mahomes Mountain, even though the last 3 weeks Mahomes has not been on top of Mahomes Mountain. I would like to unveil Manami's Mountain because Manami Toyota is the best women's wrestler of all time. So I'm not going to ever have to move her name off of this list. So this is Manami's Mountain. As it says here, it's not left to right, and the list is fluid. So this is my top 15 wrestlers this week, left to right. At the top of the pyramid is Saya. She is on top because, well, I just think right now she's had the best week. Got something aired on terrestrial Japanese TV, first time in 23 years. They put her match with the Zumi on YouTube. And right now she's taking, the Japanese women's wrestling back to the glory day height. So she's at the top of the pyramid. Right below her. So for those of you who watch First Things First, Josh Allen is right now the top. Right below Josh Allen is Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So my right below Saya is Io and Saray. And the reason is because I just think Io is performing at a level that nobody is performing at. And I don't just mean in the ring. Did you see her acting and her crying? She deserves, I think we should strongly consider Emmy nominations for Io. That was some of the most fantastic acting. And Saray is up there too because Saray's just had a hell of a run and she's like the steady, she's just the steady state performer. Right below them, I have Stephanie Vacour because she is our newly minted women's world champion. I have Rhea Ripley and Asuka who are doing some phenomenal work as a duo. Then right below them, which would be tier number 4, I have Chris Statlander, who had a hell of a week. Mercedes is there only because she was inactive this week. Like she really wasn't on any TV. She didn't do any social media. So she had to come down a level. She's like Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels dropped in the pyramid because he's injured. So she dropped. And I have Azumi there because of all the great work she's done. And I have Becky Lynch, who continues to perform so well in this heel role. I don't know if you saw the backstage segment with her and Seth where he's looking at his watch and she's like, I thought she was great. And then right below her in my final 5, I have Jamie Hayter, Athena, AJ, Bailey, and Lyra. So those are my top 15 for Manami's Mountain, which I hope next week you come with your Manami's Mountain and your 15.
So we'll alternate weeks.
Yeah.
Cool. Um, no, I love it. Rankings are something that we like to talk about. I like the weekly format because no one should crash out too hard, right? Like it's just based on the last week, you know.
Yeah, and
So
that's exactly, when I did it, I looked at Mercedes
I
and I said she was Jaden Daniels. She was inactive.
yep. And then I will then I guess before we close out here, take a moment because we didn't cover it, but we are seeing some progression from this crazy Bailey storyline.
Ah,
She had a
yeah.
match with Roxanne, um, and she won. And she was kind of being Hugger Bailey and getting her butt kicked, and then kind of locked into role model Bailey and won, which is a funny callback because Hugger Bailey on the main roster sucked and would never beat someone of Roxanne's caliber. Role model Bailey was actually one of the most protected women in women's history for a good year, um, at least as a champion. I think
Yeah.
she got pinned a lot of times in tag matches, but as a champion, she had over a year run, and then locked in, and then kind of played off the whole Lyra thing. Lyra came out to hug her, and then she rebuffed that, and so some good stuff going on with Bailey that's actually moved into her winning matches. It'll be interesting to be seen where that goes. Um, Women's card is
Uh, Hold up. Wait, am I back? The women's card is stacked on the WWE side. Stacked.
Yeah. I here's the thing. I still don't understand to this day why Roxanne beat Io. Roxanne loses to everybody. I don't understand. Like at this point, Roxanne is like enhancement talent. She loses that much. And by no means do I think she's in trouble because they clearly like her because she's on TV every week. But she really is getting into that 26-17 Sasha Banks role,
yeah.
which isn't something I want for her, by the way.
Yeah, no, WWE needs to, so back to Tiffany real quick, and this will be my final thought for the week. The Tiffany thing needs to move, and it's not just because of Tiffany. Stephanie is presumably going to be a very dominant champion on the other brand.
Yeah.
I think Stephanie is going to beat her at Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel belt. Maybe that's why no one. Maybe they want Tiffany to lose to Stephanie and not have a fresh champion also on the other side. But you know, Julia's kind of there as U.S. champion. Becky's gonna probably lose the IC title to AJ. Stephanie's gonna go on a run here. I hope she's an active champion. And then you got a lot of women like Roxanne and Lyra and Bailey and that are just kind of percolating underneath. We need to get some talent. All right, if Tiffany's going to hold the belt, let's just really piss everyone off and turn her heel. Let's get some talent over to the SmackDown side, and she can beat those new women. But let's be done with Nia Jax. I'll leave it at that.
What if
Done with Nia Jax.
I don't want this to happen. I'm president of Stephanie McCour fan club. What if Tiffany beats her?
They better be turning her heel.
Well, if Tiffany beats her, turns heel, that's one thing. But they keep telling me Tiffany's unbeaten. It feels like they want to keep her unbeaten for the whole year. I could see Stephanie losing this match. And I hope I'm dead wrong. Like, I hope Stephanie gives her the SVB. It's over. 1, 2, 3, clean. But when WWE doesn't see somebody lose for a long time, they protect that person. They go out of their way to protect that person.
Yeah.
So I could see. What if? Well, here's an idea. What if Asuka and Kyrie cost Stephanie the match because they know Stephanie is Io's buddy and Stephanie is Rhea's buddy, setting up War Games, and that's where you get the heel Tiffany.
Yeah, maybe. We've got a couple weeks till that, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see what the build looks like. Maybe we'll we've got a pretty good track record of predicting where these things go once we see what the writing looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, that was kind of a lot happened in women's wrestling this week. AEW, Stardom, WWE, some really good storyline development. So I thought it was a great week. Really
Great.
makes it easy for us to cover this stuff in an episode. You have any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are support all of the women's wrestling out there.
Yes.
And and I know it's tough for you, and I know it's tough for other people like you, that one of the companies is just, it's one thing to be a bad person, but it's another thing to be a bad person and then tell everybody, hey, I'm a bad person. But I have enough talent. I don't want to compare the two, but a lot of people are struggling with watching WWE, like you, TKO, whatever you want to call it, like I was as an Eagles fan watching Michael Vick. Like it was the same thing. Like a lot of us Eagles fans struggled with rooting Michael Vick on because of what he did. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are struggling watching WWE right now because they employ some really horrific individuals who are currently named in lawsuits. And for that person's real life best friend, and I'm not going to mention names, you guys can put two and two together. You're a smart group of listeners. This person's real life best friend picked up a microphone on Friday night and basically called it gossip and allegations and chatter. It's in an actual lawsuit that is at a district attorney's office. If that person ends up being innocent, so be it. But it's still an active lawsuit, and you cannot brush it and call it gossip.
Right.
Gossip is we think that person is going to get sued. It's not gossip when they're actually in a lawsuit. So where I'm going with this is look, I don't fault anybody who does not want to watch the product because it makes them feel icky. It makes them feel slimy. They feel like the conflict is too much. We don't want to compartmentalize. We're like, we're out. But the women on the WWE roster are doing some of the best work they've ever done. So I would just recommend try your best to give them the light, but do it where you're not spending your money. Do it on YouTube. Do it like if they're at a Walmart meet and greet or something where you can go and like do it that way because it is tough. But I just wanted to say, like, I understand all of the people who struggle with it, but man, like that company makes it really hard to watch their stuff right now.
They really do. And on the flip side, support the other places that are giving women the opportunity to be on TV and wrestle great matches, and that's an expanding area of that platform on AEW. Like I said earlier, give this women's tag team tournament and championship a chance. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at for the week. And also, if you haven't watched that Stardom match, watch that whole card. It's out there for
That's
free on YouTube.
a great card. That's one of the best women's matches you'll ever see. And next week we're gonna get your Manami's Mountain. And obviously when you
I
have it,
can't call mine Mercedes Mountain.
you could call it, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like you can call it whatever you want for your week. Like you could call it, Shirai Slope, or you could call it Mercedes Mountain, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of a woman's route. Charlotte's Cliff. I don't know, but you
Yeah.
can call it whatever you want. And by the way, hold on, I got to say this before we wrap. Can we show love to Charlexa, who is easily maybe the most entertain? They are the most entertaining women's tag team since the Golden Role Models by far. And honestly, Alexa Bliss has done the impossible. She has made me a Charlotte fan. I cannot believe it. I've said this over and over again. Alexa, kudos to you for doing that. That is yeoman's work. So that's my closing thoughts.
All right.
All right, everybody. Talk to
Thanks, everyone.